Hello chat, welcome to Cool Guys Cool Art Tutorials, where I'm gonna teach you art stuff because I can. So today's episode is angles. Yay. So I'm gonna teach kind of what basic angles are gonna look like. So let's do our front facing. I'm gonna draw a little cool guy. I'm not gonna bother with color or anything because I don't really feel like it. One important thing you should always strive for when you're doing front facing is try to have features more or less parallel unless you're doing like a front facing thing that's more angled. Well, if it's front facing, then that's the only fucking oh god, I'm shit at this. So let's keep drawing our cool guy. Let's keep fucking up the body. Let's make him square, guys. Whatever. Perfection is not real. If you're an artist, perfection is never real. Do not strive for perfection. You will end up being angry at yourself. Let me think. Good thing to always consider, how are they having their hands? Like, there's many ways you can have a hand. Like, let me think of it like a regular hand. Thumb is facing inward. Towards me, kinda. Just think of how you tend to have your fingers. It's harder to do with a stick man. No. It's hard to do this kind of thing with a stick man, but you know, we fuck it, we ball. As the kids would say. And then now we have shoes, which for shoes, if you're doing front facing, there's multiple ways that you can go about it. You can do just having the shoes kind of curve outward, which I didn't do this the best, but you know, I don't really care. I say as I correct it. You can have the shoes facing outward, and that's completely fine. But you can also have them kind of like face forward as well, which front facing shoes are very hard to get the hang of. Shoes in general, if you're trying to do accuracy, can be hard to get the hang of. So I do not blame you if you get frustrated with it looking like this, if you don't like that, and then instead want to opt for having them like this. Either works. There's not a big difference. It just depends on preference. Now for actual angled stuff. Let's say you want to have your character facing not forward, but not to the side either. Well, you're going to have the one side's features more prominently displayed. Hold on, why am I making him sad? You're going to have one side's features more prominently displayed over the others. And then here comes a very important thing. Arms. Actually, let me draw this how I usually draw stuff. Like, this is just gonna look more natural for me in particular. When you're drawing stuff at an angle like I usually do, like all the time, you've probably noticed how I do arms. There's a reason, because it'll look more natural. So when we're at an angle like this, arms are not going to be off to the side. They're going to kind of curve, they're going to just be shown off more so than anything. Now usually, I used to do it having it on a separate, arms on a separate layer, and sometimes I do that if I'm having alternate poses. Just doxed my father, let's go! If we're having alternate poses, then I usually still do have arms on separate layers. But for this, I'm not going to because I don't feel like it. Another big aspect of this is legs. This one's hard depending on how you want the thick to... that's a weird way of saying it. How, like, I guess it's the best way of saying it. How thick you want the legs to be. How big. Like, boom, boom. Angles is one of the biggest reasons why I changed Cool Guy from literally just being a stick man. From literally just being this to this. Is a very good reason, and this is why. Because I get to have more diversity. And also, another thing to note, make sure you have your like, accessories also at the angle. So, like, if it's like a scarf, let's say this is the front facing. And then this would be the semi-side profile. You gotta make sure your other stuff follows the same curves and whatnot as your regular stuff. Because you don't want to, like, say... You don't want it... I'm trying to think of how to say this. Like, you don't want this to just be gone. And it's gonna look not like a scarf anymore, because there's no scarf to it when they're facing at a direction. And also, another thing that I've just done here is layers of clothing. Like, think about how you do layers of clothing. Do you ever put shirt with a scarf already on it? Like, I usually don't do that. And it also can make it awkward for angled stuff. Because then this will be going over the scarf. And that's not really how real life works. Let me draw a Cool Guy's hoodie here. And then usually, other side profiles will be the same. However, if you have a character with special one-sided features, like let's say an eye patch. Like, let's just make a guy with an eye patch. Where that's positioned will matter. One of the biggest things that irks me is whenever people do designs that have stuff on one side of the body, and then, let's say they do a pose like this, and then later in the video, they have to have them go to the side, to go to the other side, and then they just flip it. I hate it when people do that, because that's not how that's gonna, like, naturally look. Instead of looking like that, it would look more like this. Instead, you see? The feature is going to stay on its left position at all times. So now that we've gotten somewhat side profile out of the way, let's do actual side profile. Side profiles can be very tricky if you don't know exactly what you're doing, and I never know what I'm doing, so you can imagine I struggle with these sometimes. But there's a few big things with side profiles. One, like, symmetry is going to be practically non-existent here. Like, if you want to have legs kind of unspaced to give a semblance of symmetry, you can do that. But one of the biggest issues I see is arms. They have to go out on the side. They have to be on the body. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have it be like this. That looks weird. If you have your character fully facing the side, you gotta commit. I don't think I did the best example with this, but you know, as they say, fuck it, we ball. And also, you know, features, make sure those carry over, yada yada. And usually, unless, you know, you have, like, an eye patch detail or something. Side profiles would more or less look the same both ways, unless, again, special features. Now, angles facing away. This is one that I consistently don't know how I feel about. You want to have, like, this is how I do it. Like, you have body stuff facing towards one side, whichever side you're picking. And body is the hardest thing to do. Because you can't just have it on the side. Because then it just looks like he's facing this way and not this way. So instead, you gotta angle it off to the side more to match the eyes. I didn't do the hands well. I'm redoing those hands. That was a disgrace. Not the best example hand-wise, but I don't really care. And same thing as always with features. Ta-da. Now, if you're going up or down, I'll admit, I'm not very experienced in the field of, like, facial expressions going up and down. So, I'm not experienced with this much at all yet. I might experiment with it more in the future, but I don't have any experience with it right now, and I don't want to give any stupid advice. So, I think we got human stuff out of the way. Oh wait, back view, yes, back view. Back view is a very interesting one because of hair. Let's say you have someone with long hair, very long hair. The back view doesn't end at the head anymore. It ends at the hair. As well as any like hair features, like the bounciness. And that can make other features very hard to distinguish. So that's why I usually do hair on separate layers when it comes to like hair that's very special and not easy to put on like this. So back. Same thing with features like always. And now I don't know how I feel about doing arms on back. Because I could, if I'm doing like a front, like a full back facing back, like a reversal of this. Hard cut! I love it when I accidentally turn off the video. I'm gonna resume what I was saying. So if you have like a full reversal of this, then things are probably going to look like identical, aside from features being gone. So this is more kind of angled. Like this is a very kind of special angle. I think the hardest part about angles like this are shoes. Because shoes look weird. Especially if you have shoes with special features. Like, I still don't know how to fully, like, well translate shoes like this, like, into other designs, but Oh, well. You live and you learn. That is my motto. But yeah. Now, more posing stuff. Posing is hard, guys. I'm gonna be real. Posing is very hard to do. And I'll tell you why. Because you can look at yourself sitting down as much as you want. It is very hard to think about how to translate curves into fucking drawing. Because there's a lot to consider when it comes to legs, especially when it comes to stuff like this. Like, I gotta match how that leg's sticking out. So I've got to make sure the pants are kind of similar to how the first pants are. Like, it's very hard to kind of balance this kind of thing. And not to mention where you're positioning arms and stuff. That's very hard too. Which actually, I should probably get to arms next, because I think I just did a cardinal sin with how these arms look. How this thumb looks, specifically. Hands! We all love them. We all hate them. We all want to strangle them. Hands. I'm gonna do human hands from now on, because, oh my god, I'm not doing this with stickman hands. Now, how many fingers you use on your hands depends on the person, you know. But there's one essential rule. Use your own hands as a reference sometimes! Do you not know how how a hand would look if it's, like, shooting this way? Use your hand as a reference. Know that your pointer finger goes up the most. Like, you've got to sometimes just know to try and use your hands as reference or get images off of Google. And actually, since we're on the topic, what is this? That is a fold, my friends. It is something artists use so their art doesn't look like this when they're trying to make someone do finger guns. Because this looks like they are, like, bones are cracked in multiple ways. So, to stop that, we make it go on earlier and leave a line that indents, kind of showing the bend. So it will look like a better finger gun. Now, I'm not going to say, like, I'm so experienced in hands, I'm amazing, because I'm not. Okay, I'm not. Like, I can't even draw fists that well yet. Like, I'm starting to learn how to do them like this, which is good. But, you know, I'm not the best experienced in this, but I'm going to try my best. Arms and stuff are hard. Like, I will be real. If you're having it at an angle, arms are, like, my worst enemy. Like, here's an angled arm for a real person. A person who exists somewhere in the world. I don't know. This is incorrect. Because if you look at your hands as a reference, your thumb doesn't face you when you have your hand out like this. Your hand instead does this. And it looks weird to translate into drawing. And I will admit, I still haven't gotten over how thumbs can look sometimes. I still haven't. Like, this just looks wrong. Thumbs are probably, like, my worst enemy. Because there's so many times where I draw them and I don't know how I feel about them. Or, like, I'm drawing fingers and I gotta remember that there's a thumb that exists. And even middle fingers can be difficult. Because does this look like a left hand or a right hand? That's a left hand, even though the thumb is facing right. Like, I think hands are honestly one of the hardest things to ever, like, master as an artist. And honestly, do not hate yourself if you ever struggle with hands, because I'm pretty sure 99% of artists will agree hands are the work of Satan himself, and that we should abolish our hands. Except we can't, because we're artists and we need our hands. And you may have noticed, what is this? This is a sleeve, my friend. Oh, I'm mansplaining a sleeve now. Oh, God. Sleeves. They're really weird for me because I don't always put them. Like, if I put them here, I don't know. I feel like it's unnecessary in this case because this is purely a side. Purely someone's side. But then if I have it aiming upward, oh, that's the biggest arm I've ever seen. But if I'm aiming upward, I might include it because it would make angling a lot easier. You know, that's a... Hold on. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. I did a middle finger, guys. And I don't like how it looks. See, this is what I mean. Hands are your worst enemy. Fuck you, hands. I'm just gonna do a finger gun because I've done it many times already in this. But yeah. Clothing, am I right, fellas? Cue the laugh track. Cue the laugh track, please. Yeah, do that. Anyway, hands, yeah. I'll admit, I am not experienced in you doing 5 hands. I mean, 5 hands. I meant 4-fingered hands. I'm very used to my 3-fingered hands, and I would prefer 3-fingered hands because they're just cool. Now we can go over fists, because by God, these things are atrocious. Now, I used to do fists like this. Like, hold on. And that is certainly one way to do it. That's certainly one way to do it. And I would not judge if you do it that way, because fists are the work of Satan. But, you know, doesn't this look more appealing? Because it has the thumb outline rock. What am I saying? And you gotta remember, if you have a fist that's facing towards you, first of all, you gotta remember how hands work and know which side of the fist, of the thumb, you're facing. Because does this look like a left hand or a right hand? This is a left hand. It is a left hand because the thumb is facing left. This is a left hand. You're just looking at it at a different angle. Hold on, I want to make that better. There we go. Not my best fist. Bro, when the thumb is like malnourished. But yeah, fists and hands in general are very hard to get the hang of, and you probably will never get the hang of them in your lifetime as an artist. I know I haven't. But you know, that's what being an artist is about. It's about seeing your creations and going, you know, I've done well with what I know so far. And that is honestly the best thing that you can do as an artist. Acknowledge that there's some things you can improve upon, but don't blame yourself for not knowing how to do them yet, or not being proud of how they look yet. Acknowledging progress is the best thing that you could ever do as an artist. Okay, how do I end the recording? Oh God, Google.com!